Welcome back. We've heard a lot about Nigeria's foreign policy being Africa-centered and how we need to develop a new policy that would meet the needs of citizens beyond our shores and draw that respectability from the international community. And while there is a lot of work that needs to be done, one man thinks we're certainly on the right path to greatness. He does not believe in criticizing, but in helping to build. Ambassador Martin Uhomoibhi was permanent secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs up until 2010. He was also Nigeria's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Switzerland from 2007 to 2010. However, he is mostly remembered as the former president of the United Nations Human Rights Council. In this interview, he spoke to my colleague Linda Akhigbe on Nigeria's progress at 55.
At Nigeria's independence on the 1st of October every year, my mind, of course, is set on our great country, Nigeria, and to see where we are and where we need to be, and to see what progress has been made, and what challenges we encounter, and how perhaps, if my views were sought, how we could make progress, further progress. But let me begin by saying, first of all, I am an affirmative Nigerian. I believe that this country has a lot of beautiful sides to it, and every now and then it exhibits this affirmative side of our great country. But we do have challenges, and perhaps really, really serious challenges. So my mind also gets focused on those challenges with a view to finding out what opportunities exist and how best those challenges may be addressed. So this is what I ruminate about on days such as October 1st.
After 55 years of independence, or after 55 years of our existence as a nation, should we still be celebrating independence or our existence and unity as a nation, considering what we've gone through in this past few years?
We have every reason to celebrate our existence as a nation, but also remember with great pleasure that day the Union Jack was lowered and the Nigerian flag was hoisted in its place. That was a historic moment that defined our independence and the potential that we have as a nation to translate those potentials into concrete achievements. 1960, October 1st, was a landmark in the history of our nation. Considering that we were colonized, the Lagos Consulate, I think, was established in 1851. And so it took 111 years of colonial domination and exploitation. Our people then rose to the demand, fought for our independence, and we got independence on the 1st of October 1960. So it's a moment that we will never, never forget, and which now defines us as one people and one nation.
Now, over the years, we've watched our foreign policy fluctuate in strength from our focus on Africa to economic and citizen diplomacy to the policy of reciprocity. Now, has our foreign policy contributed to where we are now as a nation?
I think so. Our foreign policy principles and objectives are very well encapsulated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and there are 5 of them. We've remained faithful to these objectives as stated in the Constitution. By whatever name it is described, the accent is described, whether it is citizen diplomacy, economic diplomacy, Afrocentricity, and all of that, whatever name, by whatever description it is presented, basically it revolves around the pursuit of our national interest and the advancement of the interests of the 376 ethnic nationalities that make up our great nation, Nigeria. This has been very, very consistent since 1960. The changes that we have been more in terms of accent rather than in substance. We were good people as a nation, and we've cared very much about our neighbors, so good neighborliness is part of our foreign policy objective. We are Afrocentric in our foreign policy projections and actions, and we've been consistent about this. Africa as the centerpiece of our foreign policy has remained so, and more of a policy reality than a gesture of godfatherism. People tend to think that when we say we are Afrocentric, we are just playing Father Christmas. It's not true. We are actually pursuing our own national interests when we define ourselves as Africans first and foremost. Because whatever happens here whatever happens in the continent affects our country. and vice versa, given our demographic content as a people and our role now as the largest economy on the continent.
Now, the rest of the world is watching our next move right now with the inauguration of the new government. What do you think are their expectations of us?
The expectations are high on Nigeria, as they have always been, I think. This is the homeland of the black race, the most populous black nation on earth, a country that is blessed in human and material terms, and a country that has also demonstrated a consistent capacity to love, to project, and to do peace. The peacekeeping dimension of our foreign policy posture is inescapable. If the United Nations exists today as a nation that was set up to maintain global peace and security, and Nigeria has been consistent and faithful to helping the UN to achieve that purpose, given our role in peacekeeping operations globally. At the last count, we have 250,000 Nigerians have participated in UN peacekeeping operations worldwide, 250,000. Out of the 55 military peacekeeping operations that have been undertaken by the United Nations, 70% of those have fielded Nigerians. A country that has that brand deserves to be respected and commended. So there are a lot of expectations about us. And of course, we have challenges here. No one can hide that one. And perhaps such you should expect of a country as diverse and as complex as ours. But are we dealing with those challenges? Yes, we are. Should we do more? Yes, we must. So it is the responsibility of this administration to build on our successes, deal with our challenges, so that those legacies that Nigeria needs to leave behind continentally, sub-regionally, and globally.
And what would you say is our expectation of them?
It is expected that we will continue to lead in this continent. It is expected that we will build a vibrant and solid democracy. It is expected that Nigeria would continue to grow economically. These are expectations, and foreign policy practice can help to achieve some of these things if we do them correctly.
In what ways?
For example, I think we must build capacity. We must also professionalize the foreign service. We must make sure that we put round pegs in round holes. We must ensure that there's adequate reorientation and capacity building. Capacity not in the sense of recycling theories, but in actually indoctrinating and reorienting those who run our foreign policy about what the values of Nigeria are and what the expectations are of Nigeria. So I want to place emphasis on empowering the foreign ministry. And the foreign ministry also needs to be empowered. By that I mean that the foreign ministry must take the primacy of place in terms of defining, conducting, and managing our foreign policy. That is not always an easy thing, particularly in a country such as ours, where everyone is an expert in foreign policy, where we tend to promote quackery and quacks to do what foreign policy experts are supposed to be doing. So we need to deal with giving primacy and importance to the foreign minister and to the foreign policy. We need to reorient and retrain our personnel, give them the appropriate skills that they need to have, and we need to sensitize them to Africa's intellectual heritage and Nigeria's own history. Because if you do not know your own history as a people, you will hardly be able to assess where you are and where you must get to be able to fully realize your potentials.
Ambassador, national patriotism has grown over in the past couple of months. You may agree with this or not. I want to know your opinions on that. But how can we harness this so that we properly position ourselves in the Committee of Nations?
National patriotism has grown over recent months. Yes, but also with challenges. A lot of people, as you said also in your questions, expect a lot from what is going on now. So the expectations are high. So we must be a balanced people, a people who know that, who have an open mind and who are ready to listen to others and do what others also propose, while sticking to your valued principles. So I think that there's need to match words with action. There's need to work for the people of Nigeria, not for the individuals. there is need also to know who our friends are and to exchange supplicancy for a respect for yourself and your people. There's also need to grow your domestic economy because of the inescapable nexus that exists between domestic policy and external policy. Strong economies that are vibrant, normally produce strong foreign policy. We must never forget that the marriage of our domestic situation and domestic expectations must be realistic when you juxtapose this with what expectations others have of you. In other words, with the external relations. So finding a balance is key. But we do not need to imagine that there is a utopia out there. Challenges will come. The extent to which we deal with those challenges will define our destiny and will define what we eventually grow out to be, both in the sub-region, in the continent, and in the world at large.
Beyond the 55th anniversary celebrations, what is your vision for Nigeria?
I have a saying that the global ascendancy of Nigeria is unstoppable. No one can stop the destiny of our country. Only Nigerians can. So Nigerians must realize that the destiny of this country lies squarely in their own hands. You remember the president in his inaugural statement on the 29th of May spoke about the tide in the affairs of men. He was quoting Shakespeare. And I think the earlier we realize that it is the onus is on us to determine what happens to our country and do the right thing to achieve that result, the better for our country. So we need to reorient ourselves to accepting our primacy in determining the destiny of our country and do the right thing at the right time. The most you can expect from others is help. But that help must not define what Nigeria eventually turns out to be. It is you who will take that responsibility and deal with it yourself.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks to everyone kind enough to drop a comment on our topics on social media. Here's a summary of what you've been saying. And that's a wrap on the program this week. Wishing us a great journey as a nation and praying that you stay safe. I am Amarachi Obani. I'll see you next time.